Perception. What is it and how is it influencing your day-to-day life? In this episode, I'm going to be unpacking the concept of the lens of perception, what that means, how it creates a filter for your life, and the shifts that you can make so that you can blow down the limitations that exist in the mind and expand into your limitless potential. Welcome back to another episode of Positive Performance, where we're exploring all topics centered around creating a more highly optimized, higher performing, and harmonious way of living. And in today's episode, I'm excited to explore the topic of perception. What is your perception? How does your perception influence the ways in which you experience your reality on a day-to-day basis? And most importantly, what are the shifts that you can begin to make so that you can have this process work for you rather than against you? Because we don't experience the world as it is, we experience the world as we are. And what we perceive, we receive. And there's really a lot of depth and meaning in these two simple phrases. So I really want to unpack this topic today, unpack what is perception, what influences it, how does it show up, and what are these different levers that we can pull to understand this process more deeply and have it working for us rather than against us. And I'm going to start today by talking a little bit about how the brain processes information, because your brain processes upwards of 11 million bits of data per second in any given moment. I'll say that again. Your brain is processing upwards of 11 million bits of data per second from everything that you're experiencing in your external world, the sights, the sounds, the smells, and then also everything that you're experiencing in your internal world. And here's where it gets interesting. Your conscious awareness can only handle upwards of about 50 to 60 bits of data per second. So as you can see, there's a significant gap between the amount of data being processed by the brain in any given moment and the amount of that data that's actually making it to your conscious awareness. So the next logical question would be, well, how does this get filtered down? What is the filter? What is the lens in which this 11 million bits of data gets funneled in to 40, 50, 60 bits of data, making it into the conscious awareness? Now, there's a couple of different processes in place that has this happen, and most of this occurs out of the conscious awareness. You'll hear the term subconscious mind, so something that we're not conscious of. But this program, which we'll talk about later, is always running. And this program of the subconscious mind is built upon a few fundamental things, with the first of that being your beliefs. Every belief that you subscribe to, that you've taken in from your family, from your upbringing, from the things that you've been through, from the things that you've learned throughout your life, all of these things make up your belief system about what the world is, what you believe to be true. This belief system starts to build the foundations of this funnel of taking that 11 million bits of data and bringing it down to the most important things for you to see in any given moment. Part of belief is also belief about yourself. So your identity. Who do you believe to be? What do you believe to be true about you? About your personality, about the way you are, about your potential. All of these things create another layer on this filter. So you have your beliefs about life in general, about the world. You have your beliefs about yourself, about your potential, about who you are as a person, as a human being, and why you're here. And then we also have the capability to focus our awareness. So we can intentionally focus our awareness on one focal point and begin to amplify that in our experience. In psychology, this is known as the spotlight effect. And an example of this, you may have experienced this before. Maybe you're going to buy something new. It could be, say, a car for a good example. You're going to buy a new car. And the weeks leading up, all of a sudden, this car that you're going to buy, you start seeing everywhere on the road. But what happened? Did everyone start getting this car because you're getting it? Not the case. The fact is that you've said to your mind, this is something important to me. This is something I'm excited about. This is something that's important. There's emotion involved with it. So the brain's like, okay, got it. We'll bring more of that into your life. So now all of a sudden you're on the highway and you're seeing them all over the place. You're seeing them in the far lane. You're seeing them pull up next to you. And they were there before, but your awareness wasn't as heightened about them. You weren't paying as much attention to them. And this is a really simple analogy talking about, a physical item. And this is really a good way to get a grasp of what this means and how this shows up, because this goes far beyond just buying a car or getting a physical item. This really goes for everything that we experience in life. So going back to the belief systems, right? A way to look at this, if the outlook that we have for life, how we see the world. So do we see the world as a dangerous place? Do we see the world as a place that's unfair, that a lot of people are out to get you? Or do you see the world as a place of opportunity? Do you see the world as a place of growth? Do you see the world as a place of people having love and compassion and being and uplifting one another and being there for one another? These two perceptions, again, will have a massive influence on what you experience and what you see in the world. Now, I'm not saying that the latter isn't true. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that do bad things. I'm not saying that there can't be challenges in life. Of course, that's all true, and that's things that we will experience. But again, we're amplifying here what we want to experience. So when we focus on the fear, when we focus on the lack, when we focus on the things that we don't have, then the brain's like, okay, got it. We'll find more of that. But when we focus on opportunity, when we focus on the lessons, when we focus on possibility, then we amplify that. Because we know now through quantum physics, so basically the studying of very, very small things, our world on the smallest level, we see that this whole universe exists in a field of possibility. There is no solid matter. Everything is an energetic frequency when we get down to the baseline of everything. And it lives in this field of possibilities. So what we're doing when we're focusing our awareness is we're amplifying certain possibilities. As I mentioned before, we will go through struggle. We will go through challenge and hardship, and there will be things that come up in our life that we may not have wanted to come up. And most times it's for our growth. If there's something for us there, there's a lesson there. But again, we're able to amplify these potential fields. So, just to give a visual example. So say, there's an event coming up and you're hoping for a certain outcome of it, right? And say the outcome you're looking for had a 1 in 100 chance of occurring. Now, if you focus on, I'm not ready and the other people are so much better and I can't live up to them. Well, then all of a sudden maybe that possibility goes down to 1 to 50, 1 to 25, or goes higher, 1 to 500, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000. But then all of a sudden you shift your mindset. You say, I'm ready. I'm best prepared. I'm most physically fit. Whatever that mindset looks like for you, start literally envisioning the outcome that you wish to see. Now, all of a sudden, 1 to 50 odds, 1 to 25, 1 to 10. Again, not guaranteeing it. Just because you visualized it doesn't guarantee that outcome, but we're affecting probabilities here. And again, this whole universe is predicated in this world of probability, in this energetic frequencies of probability, and we're affecting those every single day with our thoughts and our emotions. And these are the two most powerful forces that we have to affect these things. Our thoughts hold an electric charge. They're the electric charge of the body, and they actually carry a frequency. They are a frequency, our thoughts. Higher positive thoughts of love, care, hold a higher frequency. Lower thoughts of hate and negativity, they hold a lower frequency. And again, this is going to affect the world around us and how we experience it. Because the fundamental thing that's going on here is that the brain craves to affirm our reality. It wants to affirm our identity. It wants to affirm our beliefs. It's a very important thing that the brain wants to do on a continual basis. And it's always running to do this. It's always running to affirm. It doesn't ask, oh, is this belief limiting us? Oh, is this belief good or bad? It doesn't put it into those two categories. The subconscious mind is just saying, okay, here's our belief. How can we show that this is showing up for us? How can we affirm this? And it's going to affirm it. So that's why it's so important to really understand what our beliefs are, and are they limiting us or are they empowering us? Because if these beliefs are limiting us, then the subconscious mind is going to be running these beliefs and running these things to further limit us. It's a very powerful process. And the way that I look at this is the subconscious mind is a computer program. Is a computer program made up of these beliefs, everything in our life, and it's running this program constantly to create this filter, right? So 11 million bits of data. Now it's going through all of our beliefs, the way we view the world, what we're looking for, our goals in life, our visioning, taking all that in and bringing our experiences in based upon all of that in any given moment. So like I said, it's a little intricate and it's always running. But here's the thing. You not only experience the outcome of this, right? You're the end user, right? So if it's a computer program and it's running subconsciously, so we're experiencing that. But here's the power. You have the ability to write the code because you already have written the code with the beliefs that you have, with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your feelings. All of these things are constantly doing it. The problem is most people are not aware that they're programming it. So now we're in a place where many people are writing this program, unaware that they're writing this program, and now being affected by this program. And this is 100% happening below the conscious awareness. So this whole process is happening out of awareness. You may have heard the term when people are quote unquote asleep, right? They're not in the wake state. And what they're talking about when people are asleep, and I stay touchy with the term because it's not to be a derogatory. I don't want to say like, oh, well, they're sleeping, like it's a term to reflect the fact that it's not in any of their conscious awareness of this process that's going on. So this thing is just running, and I was there. I was sleeping on this process for most of my life until I had my quote unquote spiritual awakening. What is an awakening? You awaken to the fact that this process is happening. And a big part of that is understanding the role that you play in your own suffering. Because the fact is to get through our suffering that we experience, we need to face how we play a role in our own suffering. And most suffering comes from attachments and mindset. Now, I'm not talking about pain and things we go through, because we go through challenging experiences. We lose loved ones, we lose pets, we have a car accident. We go through pain, but suffering is the meaning we put to that, and the extended experience of that one experience that we have. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about suffering. So pain and suffering are two things. We'll all experience pain, but the suffering and the extent to which we suffer, for how long we suffer, that's optional. And that's something that's controlled by us, and we can have a huge impact on that. So this is why it's so important to become aware of this process and become aware how we're running the subconscious programming. So this is the next portion. Like, how do we get this? You're saying, Joe, okay, wow, this program is running. I want to understand, is this working for me? What's holding me back? How may this be affecting my life right now? And it really starts in the small things. And one of the huge things about it is self-talk. The way that you talk to yourself plays such an immense role in how you're going to experience things, and more importantly, give yourself opportunity in the future. I can certainly remember there was a time where I paid no mind to self-talk. In fact, utilizing self-deprecation was common for me to help me achieve my goals, which ended up just becoming a rat race for me. Something I definitely picked up in my military days, going through boot camp, and just a lot of the experiences of the military, utilizing some of that negative self-talk. It motivated me to a degree, but it also was writing a different program. So on one end, calling myself fat or like essentially shit talking myself. On one aspect of it, got me moving a bit, but it wrote this other program that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't good as I was. So there was this split that occurred within me. So my progress that I did make because I got myself to move was always held back by this other program that was like, well, you're not good enough to have it anyway. So I was being pulled in both directions. And this was on the tail end of a lifetime of not feeling like enough and not knowing my true identity. So I always kind of just tried to conform to others, looking for validation, looking for acceptance. I wrote this story at a young age and moving forward in life that I wasn't good enough as I was. So I needed to do things or emulate things to be accepted by others because I wasn't accepted how I was. And this is the program that ran in my life unconsciously. So what did it have me do? It had me following, it had me acting out of what my true self and character and identity was, which I was long from even understanding. I had pushed that so far away because, again, my story was, you're not good as you are. You can't show the world who you are, can't be who you are, because who that is isn't love, doesn't get love and acceptance, doesn't get the things that you desire in this world. So you need to do these other things to be like the people that you aspire to be. And this is what I ran for such a long time. It led to a lot of heartbreak. It led to exhaustion. It led to just really hitting a brick wall in my life where I just had this immense breakdown, which ended up being my breakthrough moment. So this is really how that played up for me. And again, this is at the core of those that beliefs about ourselves. And the more that we can understand this, the more we can really dive into this, we can begin to have that positive impact. Because as I'm going to talk about more and more, we cannot hate ourselves into a version of ourselves that we love. We have to understand that we're whole and complete as we are. We're perfect as we are. And somewhere along the way, something happened. You wrote that story. I'm not loved if I act this way. I don't receive love. I don't receive the recognition I'm looking for when I act in this certain way. And it can be the littlest things that create these little stories, these meanings that we put onto the events. But the good thing is, we can always shift this. We always have the power to shift this. All of these stories that we say about ourselves, about where we came from, about our upbringing, and again, about our potential moving forward. This is all an opportunity for us to evolve through. And this goes for, I'll call it putting people on a pedestal syndrome, because this is another thing I went through. On my journey of finding my own voice, getting into the coaching space, getting into the world of social media and making a positive impact, I used to put everyone on a pedestal. Used to put everyone on a pedestal, seeing them as higher than, above me. And it always created this separation. I needed to do more. I needed to know more. I needed to take more classes. I need more external validation from everywhere. And all it did was keep me further away from my own voice, and it kept me further away from my own potential. Because at the end of the day, you're human. You have infinite potential. We all have infinite potential. Where we come from is not a determinant of where we can go in life. And listen, other people will try to hold you back from your potential. They will hold you into their limiting beliefs. And so, you know what? Sometimes it's malicious, but more times than not, it's out of love. More times than not, people will hold you to their limiting beliefs because they believe it to be true so much, and they want to save you the pain and the heartache, not knowing that the pain and the heartache of not reaching your true potential is much worse than that fear of taking that risk, of going forward, moving forward with that dream, with that passion, with that goal, with that desire. That the cost of inaction is so much higher than that fear of jumping off and going for that dream and going for the unconventional route that you know to be true in your heart. And again, some people, it may be malicious, but most people in your life, they care about you. They don't want to see you hurt. They don't want to see you take that tough path. So they'll hold you into whatever belief they have that limited them, that limited their parents. But you don't have to accept that. You can appreciate it. You can see it for what it is, but you have the opportunity to create these new beliefs, to see the world with that infinite potential, to see yourself with that infinite potential. And when you can begin to break out of that box and see that, I'm telling you, Anything you wish to desire, see, and experience in life is available to you. You are born into a mansion. We are all born into a mansion with hundreds of rooms in it. And guess what? Most people spend their life in one room, just rearranging that one room, not understanding there's hundreds of other rooms. These other rooms are potential, things that we could do, goals, achievements, impact to make in the world. And so many things around us have been told, no, it's just this one room. But what if? What if you broke out of that room and envision that room? You know what that room is? That's limiting beliefs. Those are the beliefs that hold you back. Those are the beliefs that saying you're not good enough. Those are the beliefs that are saying you're not like the rest. You're not like them. You can't do what they do. But guess what? That room is fake. Built by you. You have the key. The key is all around you. Everything that you go through in life, all of the challenges that you go through, every single thing that has occurred in your life holds little keys, lessons, insights into why you've been put on this earth. So we can get wrapped up in what happened to us. This thing happened to me. It shouldn't have happened to me. Why did this happen to me? Or we can say, okay, this happened. Why did it happen? What's the lesson for me here? In anything that we go through, there's a lesson there. Many times we don't make it to the lesson. We just say, this happened to me. This sucks. Shouldn't have happened. It's unfair. Life's unfair. Then we write that story. We write that meaning. And then guess what? More unfair things happen. But if we look back and say, this thing happened, maybe it wasn't fair that it happened, but why did it happen? What did it show me? What can I learn about myself or my purpose here on this earth? Then we take that moving forward. We take that meaning. We take the meaning that this is happening for me, not to me. This is happening through me. This is the universe, God, whatever you call it, working through me, not to me. So we put that meaning to it. We get the lesson, and then we use that moving forward in our life. And that's what I mean. We could break out of that room. And then guess what? What if there's no mansion altogether? What if we get out of the whole house altogether and realize that the only limits that we'll ever experience are the limits of our thinking and our mind? It's sometimes it's hard to wrap our head around because there's been so much conditioning. There's been so much that we just have taken as is. And there's a lot of forces at work throughout the various media outlets and everything that we experience in the world that want you to play small. They want you to. But the world needs you to not play small more than ever. You have a unique gift and purpose here, a unique reason you've been put on this planet. You have unique skills, capabilities, capacities, understandings, perspectives, passions that only you can fulfill. And typically that's going to be connected to the way in which you can bring value to the world, how you can impact other people. So taking the time to tune into this is something much bigger than you. And I promise you, when you start digging in to things bigger than yourself, your motivation is going to go through the window. Your inspiration, your creativity, the random thoughts that come out of the ether through you, the way you're able to impact when it's bigger than yourself, I can promise you, this is something that continues to amplify. So again, the choice is always yours. And again, it's not always the easiest because you have to take responsibility. No one else can do this for you. There's no one to blame. There's no one to look at. It's on you. It's on all of us. What happened to you may not be your fault. I get it, but it's your responsibility. The things that we go through is not always our fault. Sometimes we get a shitty hand, but it is our responsibility to deal with the ramifications emotionally, energetically, in our belief systems to overcome, move through, take the lesson, and then turn around and create the impact in this world that we want to see. This has been the biggest shift ever, the biggest shift that I've experienced in my life. And this was a process that took years. Overnight, I didn't go from saying, you suck and have these limiting beliefs to then all of a sudden I believed in all this infinite potential in my future. It took years of this, right? It's not just affirmations in the mirror, right? You may have or may not have heard or tried of affirmations when you say positive things about yourself throughout the day, or, in the mirror. Even you could do it during your sleep time. Affirmations are great in one thing, but more than not, action. Continual action affirming this identity that you're moving into. So action is the best thing that you can do to continue to write this story, because you're either holding yourself to a prior version, you're waking up, you're thinking thoughts of yesterday, then with every thought, there's an emotion tied to it. So when we're thinking thoughts of the past, our emotions become tied and generated from that of the past, and we're literally living in our past. So we can wake up, think the same thoughts, connect to the same emotions, and live in a prior version of ourselves. Or we can consciously choose to embody new emotions and new thoughts. Again, this takes a reprogramming. Our body's been doing this for a long time. It wires together, it fires together, it gets used to these patterns. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple. It's not always easy. It can be challenging, but it takes repetition. It takes putting yourself in environments that are conducive to this. It takes bringing people into your life that support this. Really taking a hard look at the information you're taking in, the kind of social media content, the type of the TV that you're watching, podcasts you're listening to or not listening to, the type of books you're reading. This all plays a role in how this is going to continue to formulate. And I'm a proponent in full immersion. This is how I did it. I went from completely asleep, alcoholic, suicidal, just really not in the space, not in a great space. And when I had my awakening, I went full immersion. Podcasts every day, reading books on a regular basis, completely pretty much disconnected from a lot of my past, that people I hung out with, family, just a lot of things. I just created this space, this bubble for me to really cultivate this new way of being. And I'm not saying you have to just cut off the world, or, you need to just, shut everyone out from your whole life. I'm not saying that, but sometimes you need that space from the environment, from the people, to be able to create this new pattern moving forward and immerse yourself. And again, it was for me, podcasts, personal development, going to Tony Robbins seminars, having things in my life that allowed me to expand my thinking. Because ultimately that's what you want to do. We want to expand the way that we think. Because we can learn how to think, then the future is limitless for us. It's easy. We could take in information and, read and just take in information. But ultimately, we want to change the way that we think. If we can change the way that we think, it opens our mind to new possibilities. Once the mind understands this is a possibility, again, what's it going to do? It's going to affirm that. So this is the process. This is the process that's made just such a shift in my life. As I mentioned in the first episode, I am just a shadow of a person that I was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I really started to get deeper and deeper into this work. And there's a core me. I mean, we're always at our core. There's parts of us that remain the same. I think this process is not about, I don't think it's about building an us. More so, it's about releasing the things that aren't us. That's what I've learned. To find who I truly was, I needed to release the things that weren't me. And what naturally emerged from that was who I really was and why I'm here and what I love and what I'm passionate about and what I'm meant to do on this earth. So again, we talk about this, finding ourselves. I'm like, we're not lost. We're there. It's like the sun's still there on a cloudy day, right? The sun is always there, but it gets covered by the clouds. We are always there. You are always there in existence, deep in your core, deep in your soul, in yourself. The only thing is it gets covered up. It gets covered up by different parts of you that have come up through your life, through various experiences, through the things you've been through maybe traumas you've been through. These parts come up and we act in certain ways to protect ourselves, to get validation, to receive love, because it's one of the fundamental things in life, being a human being. There's actually a syndrome for babies. If they don't receive and feel love, they can have a loss of will to live and not make it at childbirth. We are so dependent on connection and love and being cared for in our younger years. It's hardwired into our bodies to need love, to need acceptance. So this is something so fundamental to us. It's not something that's wrong. So when that's threatened, when we have an experience in life where we act in a certain way and then we don't experience that love from maybe a family member or loved one, then we're like, oh, when I act this way, I don't get love. Oh my God, I can't act this way, right? So it's just about becoming aware of these patterns, becoming aware of this self-talk. Because even you could say, oh, I'm joking. Oh, you're such an idiot. You're so dumb. Well, you always screw things up. I'm just joking. Your subconscious mind's listening. It's not joking. So you can say it all you want. You are writing that in. This is the degree of intentionality I want you to bring to your life, to your thoughts, to the way that you see yourself, to the way that you see other people. Again, as I mentioned, this doesn't guarantee a lifetime of just like rainbows and unicorns, right? Challenges are going to come up. We're going to go through situations that are hard. It's not all going to be perfect, but the way that you navigate it and the probability of those occurring is massively affected by how you wish to view the world in the lens in which you view reality, you view yourself, and you view the things around you. And your ability to navigate them will change as well, especially when you're looking for that lesson. So again, it's not about not acknowledging. We're never going to talk on this podcast about not acknowledging the struggle, the challenge. And again, like I said in the first episode, not good or bad, but just challenge and struggle. We don't want to not acknowledge it and say, just everything's good. And just think, we want to be real, but we want to see things as they are, not worse than they are. And it could be so easy to catastrophize, right? Something goes wrong and we get wrapped up in that. And then we look for the worst. When we can see things as they are, and then instead of focusing on the problem, we focus on the solution. We focus on the problem, we amplify the problem. We focus on the solution, we amplify the number of solutions available to us. And more times than not, solutions come up that we can't even perceive with our conscious awareness. And we'll get talking to that topic a little bit more about really creating and pulling in these experiences through these doors that we can't see with the logical mind because it comes from somewhere else. So we'll dive into that in another episode. But that's really what I have about today's episode about perception. Again, I think this is one of the most fundamental keys because this is the iOS. This is the operating system of your life. This is what's running you. 95% of your daily actions, of what you go through on a daily basis, is at a subconscious level. So most of your experience of reality is beyond your conscious awareness. So if you can bring conscious awareness to the things that are writing that code, then you can have comfort in knowing that that subconscious programming is on your side and it's working for you. The brain is a fantastic tool. It's an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool. I think the term is, it's a fantastic servant, but a terrible master. So when we have it running us, it can run amok. It can affect your life. But when you're utilizing it as a tool, the conscious awareness, then it's using it in your favor. Because remember, you are not your body, you're of your body. So like a car, we drive our car, but we are not the car, right? You're driving this, but you're not of this. You're not this. So when you could create that separation, look from the outside in, take control of these practices, you will take control of your life. I guarantee it. Again, you can't guarantee outcomes, but you can influence the ones that come up for you. Again, this is one of my favorite topics. This is really cool to explore. I'm going to be exploring this more. There's a lot more I kind of want to get into when it comes to quantum physics and the double slit experiment of how just our awareness alone affects the world around us and how the world around us can affect us. We'll save that for a later episode. I think this is enough for today. So thanks for tuning in. This was an exciting one. If you got something out of this, leave a comment below. I would love to hear what you think or tools that you implement. Again, this is one of my favorite topics. We'll be exploring different aspects of this a little later on. So thank you for joining me today. If you like this, hit the subscribe button, like the Instagram page, and love to hear your feedback. Any episodes you want to hear, definitely open to any suggestions. So excited to see you in the next one, and thanks for tuning in.